happening? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Good people, what's happening? It's your man Patrick, the game changer Jackson here. We are going to be going live talking about the election and what happened. Going to be putting a link in the description in the comments so that you guys can go ahead and tap in and have this discussion and conversation with me. If you are just tuning in, make sure that you hit the like button, make sure that you subscribe, and also make sure that you share this as we're going to go deep into this conversation today. It's going to be a really good conversation. Hope you guys. Um, I know a lot of things been going on. Of course, a lot of controversy been going on around the elections and everything like that. But this is our opportunity to have a conversation. It is our opportunity to have a conversation about. Of course, there's a lot to break down here of what happened, what has taken place. If you ain't got your popcorn, make sure you get your popcorn. And it is going to be a very good conversation. Make sure that you go ahead and like, share. Make sure you say hello. Jump up in this thing. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it. So if you're tuning in, just say hello to me. As you're coming on, make sure that you like, share, subscribe. We're gonna talk about this election. We're gonna break it down a little bit. A lot of people have questions. What happened? How did this happen? What took place? We're also going to dive into some of the propositions. Those that are tuning in for California, how that affected those here, and also probably dive into some of the local elections and stuff as well of things that have transpired. As some of the things that we have here that has happened, we definitely have to understand what has taken place because it is not an easy discussion to have. So go ahead, sit back, relax, enjoy. I'll be right back. Hey, what's happening, folks? Again, I'm back. Patrick the Game Changer Jackson here. We're going to be breaking down this election, what happened, what took place. I want to know how you feeling about it. How are you feeling about it? How are you feeling about it? Make sure that y'all go ahead and like, share, subscribe. If you want to, go ahead and tap in and hit that uh, link that's in the comments. If you guys want to go ahead and try to join the conversation a little later on, and you can get into the queue as we're going to have this discussion about exactly what has taken place. We're gonna break down some of these statistics because it's very interesting. Very interesting. A lot of times we'll see these things happen. We'll see elections happen one way or the other, and I'm glad we definitely live in a country where we try to settle things in a cordial manner, right? Not like the issue that we had at our capital from the last election. So we want to try to make sure that we're doing things in a wholesome way, that people aren't doing things crazy, all that type of stuff, man. Like we're trying to do things in a diplomatic way. Win, lose, or draw. We have a process. People vote. Boom. You win some, you lose some. You live to be able to do it another day, right? Like that's the whole process of this. The way that we have our democracy here, and so there's been a major turn of events. People have been upset, man. Folks want to know my take and opinion on how the elections went. So I'm going to dive in on some of the issues that has taken place. And some folks' complaints and their gripes, uh, especially being a black man. There was a lot of controversy around black men not voting uh, for Kamala. There was a lot of controversy around that. So I know a lot of people are feeling some type of way. What exactly happened? Was that the turn of the events? What transpired with the actual amount of people that voted and turned out? Of course, a lot of people turned out to vote, man. A lot of people turned out to vote. So the folks was in the building with voting. We had a lot of first time voters, people that are getting engaged in voting. So it's definitely great to see, number one, folks that are engaging in the conversation. I seen Jabri. He said the Christian turned out and showed that they were accepting abortions and trans rights as the new norm. It appears that there was a large number of these folks upset, 71% of Christian and 60% Catholic. Yes, I did see that statistic, and I'm definitely going to be bringing that up. Great point within this election when it pertains to the president, Kamala and Trump, the uh, church community definitely was not feeling that, and I think that's where uh, one of the issues. If you really were gun ho on thinking that these things were going to take place the way that you wanted it to, listen, listen. If you wanted it to go a particular way, you got to understand that there's a moral compass that comes with it. And people are like, whoa, man, Trump isn't moral at all. Well, they're trying to choose, I guess, between what they believe as two evils. And the controversy that some folks would say, right? The controversy, some folks would say, would be trying to see exactly where we as a country are going to be going after this. And that was going to be either way, right? Like either way, you were going to try to decide how was this, which way this country was going to be going, right? So let's go ahead and pull this up. Let me see. I'm on the wrong one, wrong tab. Let me see. Pull this one up. Boom, boom, boom. Go back. Not that one. Pull up this one. Here we go. Exits. Let's pull that one up. Here we go. Okay. All right, good people. So we got this up now. So if we're looking at it, number one thing that we're seeing that Donald Trump won the one president. I'm going to break that down here in just a moment. But also, I'm going to highlight that the Republicans also took the Senate, to control the Senate. So now they have the controlling vote on the actual Senate. So that's a big, it's a major deal. Major deal. So the Republicans have now taken over the Senate. Even last night, if they wasn't going to, of course, if they would have won, they still would have gotten control because they would have had won the presidency, which the VP would have gotten the tie-breaking vote, even if they stayed tied. So they ended up taking over the Senate. Now the thing to watch now is also the House. So they'll be able to be potentially in control of the House and the Senate and be able to pretty much pass anything at their will. Be able to pass anything at their will. So we're gonna have to watch that extremely closely. I think it's always good to kind of have a balance between either the House or the Senate, to where they can kind of balance each other out, and kind of iron sharpens iron. One group won't allow another group to kind of just pass things through. I always think that's good. Even when Obama was in office, when he had it, having full autonomy sometimes just isn't as good, because you don't want everything to just be passed, right? You want things to be able to go back and forth, and the other side may not have. They may be a little bit more controversial from that opinion, but I believe that brings a little bit more sharpening, right? That's just my thoughts. That's just my thoughts. I think it just brings just a little bit extra sharpening so that you can put yourself in a better position to where you can things you may have overlooked, stuff you may have seen or not seen, but just making sure that whatever it is that you saw that you were trying to put forward that it was taken seriously. So yeah, definitely make sure that we'll watch the House as it comes forward. Right now, the Republicans have it at 208. The Democrats are at 187. To be able to split it, it'll be at 218. So 218 is the marker, right, for the House. So it's something to continue to watch as we go forward. Now, as we look at this thing full circle, right? Take a moment, breathe. Take a moment, breathe. Right? All of those so super excited about Vice President Harris winning the election. Of course, we're breaking this thing down, like just breaking it down, right? Breaking it down by the numbers of what actually happened. Just breaking it down by the number about what actually happened. Again, if you guys want to jump on, we can have a conversation. Get your want to call in, go ahead and click the link in the comments. Just post the StreamYard link in the comments if you want to jump on. I will just be prepared. I have you in the background and get prepared to jump on in just a moment. So going back to what exactly happened as we break down these numbers, right? So if you were looking at breaking down all of these numbers and statistics that's on here, right? So we have, and that it's always in grave detail, right? Always in grave detail, from race to gender to if you're, you know, Protestant, Catholic, they break it down. They break it down. So as we look at these numbers, you see to the right, they're in blue, and to the right, they're in red. You check those out, right? Check those out. Check those out. Left blue, right red. So we have 41% when they're breaking it down by race. They're breaking it down by race. 41% of white. 71% is the numbers here in the corner right under. Let's see if I can point to it. That's right here. This is the percentage of people that's in that demographic. The percentage of people that's in that demographic, right? That's the breaking it down. It's the percentage of people in that demographic. So we're saying 71%. 71%. They take up 71%. 11% black. 12% is Hispanic. 3% is Asian, and another 3% is other. Now, of that 71%, 41% of the white voted Democrat. 57% voted Republican for African American or black vote. 85% voted Democrat. 13% voted Republican for the Hispanic Latino community. 52 voted Democrat. 46 voted Republican. Now, when we go to the Asian community, 54% voted Democrat. 39% voted Republican. And all the others outside of the white, black, Hispanic, and Asian community, all the others, they make up 3%, voted 42% Democrat, 54% Republican. Now, what are these numbers telling you, right? What are these numbers telling you, right? This part is very important. Checking this out. This is the part that's very important. This is the part that's important right here. Let me bring it back up this way. All right, here we go. Now, the reason why that number is important, and let me see if I can. Here we go. The reason why these numbers here are important is because it shows you just the number of percentage of people that are voting, right? This is the percentage of people that are voting, and in those demographics of those percentages, and then what those percentages voted on, right? So that means that 71% of the voter are white, 11% black, 12% Hispanic, 3% is Asian, and the other 3% is other. Okay. Then when we break them down by gender, right? Right up here at the top, we have them by gender. 47% was man. 53% was women. So 42% of men voted Democrat. 53% of women voted Democrat. 55% of men voted Republican, and 45% of men, 45% of women voted Republican. So why are these numbers important? Why are these numbers important? Because it shows you just the percentage of people that are voting for what the interest of what you believe should have been. And you try to wonder, hey, so what? How did that pan out, right? Of course, it's broken down by states and things like that, but you understand the generalization of how people were voting. So I want to go ahead and do it when we do by the sex by race category, right? So now we're saying white man, white women, black man, black women, right? We had the first that was jumbled all together. Now we're going to go in and discuss how it affects folks individually. So by race and by sex. So as we're looking at the demographics here, we have 34. We have the 34% here. Again, we're looking at these two numbers that make up a large percentage of the voting population, right? And then you have 34% for men, 37%, 34% for white men, 37% for white women, 5% for black men, 7% for black women, 6% for Latino men, 6% for Latino women, and then 6% that they jumble with all the other races, right? I think it's some of the other breakdown. They continue to break them down, but they're smaller percentage. Um, so as we look at this, right? Boom, you have those there. This is just the number of people. So we're saying this is the percentage of the people. Now, of those white men, those 34% of white men, 60% voted Republican, 37% voted Democrat. Now we break that down. We go to white women, right? 45% voted Democrat, 53% voted Republican. Black men, they thought this number was going to be extremely skewed. You know, some folks are still upset about this number. 77% of black men voted Democrat. 21% voted for Donald Trump. For black women, 91% voted. 91% voted for VP Harris, and 7% voted for Trump. Now, we'll go ahead and break it down to the Latino men and Latino women. Now, 43% voted for Kamala, and 55% voted for Trump. For the Latino women, 60% voted for Kamala, and 38% voted for Trump. And then all the other races was kind of split. It was 48, 46% for the other races. Now, let's break down these numbers. I was having this conversation. I was having this. Okay, let me see. All right, you right. Let me see if I can do that for you. bring that larger. There we go. Yes, I can. I am making that bigger for you right now. Here we go. Can you see it bigger now? Is that a better look for you? All right. There we go. Here we go. See if that's good. There we go. Now, if we look at these percentages, right? We're breaking them down. Um, as we look here, you see here, this number is totally different, right? So we're going back to all of these percentages are the people. These are the number of people. So this is the 34% there, and 37% makes up majority of the voting pool. So we're uh, looking at these numbers and breaking them down of just the percentage of people, right? We have the percentage of people here. Now this is breaking down, seeing who voted for who, what percentage of these different race and sex voted for who, right? So the 34% of white men, 37% of them voted for Kamala. 60% voted for Trump. Now, can y'all see those numbers a little bit better? All right, there we go. So now, as we're breaking these numbers down, right, you're seeing the difference. You see the difference in a major piece in here, which is two that we're going to point out really quickly. Now, there was a big argument, of course, about the black man. We thought that number was going to go drastically crazy, that so many black men wasn't going to vote for Kamala. 77% did. I know there's a lot of people still mad about that number, but 21% did vote for Trump. Now, for black women, 91% did, but 7% still did vote for Trump. Okay. And then we have, I want to highlight two things really quick. One is there was this major movement of women voting, right? Women backing each other up voting, and there was a major push in the conversation about black men. And so I was having a conversation with Pastor V.K. Jones, and we were having a discussion. He was like, "Hey man, how you think this election is gonna go?" I said, I don't think it's gonna go the way that we anticipate that it's going to go, which is for Kamala, right? We're specifically talking about. I'm involved in all, the Senate, everything, the House, the local government, the propositions and everything. But we're specifically talking about the president position. And I was saying that, hey, I don't know how it's going to turn out, but I don't think it's going to turn out the way that we're anticipating. And there was a reason why. And he said, well, why you think that? And so I said, Pastor V.K. Jones, this is the reason why I think that is because there's been so much of an emphasis on black men voting for Kamala. And there has not been a real conversation or take from white women. I said they've kind of been silent. You had all these other demographics coming out voting. I don't think that they're really gun ho about her or a woman being president. I said we saw that same thing happen with Hillary. They really wasn't gun ho, and it was the white women that didn't vote for her, that didn't get her in office. They trusted Trump a lot more. And so I said I don't see that happening with Kamala. I don't see the rally behind her. I said they've been extremely silent. So and I'm saying that because as we look at this demographics here, right? We look at this demographics here, we're seeing that they did. They're a very large portion. Again, it's 37%. They're a very large portion of the voting pool. They're a very large percentage of the voting pool. That 37% is important, especially as you go into some of the other states, right? That 37% is extremely important. especially as we break these other numbers down, that's kind of not meaning as much as impact when it comes to other states. Some, yes, others, not so much. And so, by her only getting 45% of the white woman's vote, Trump got 53% of that vote. Now, I think that the anticipation that he was going to get majority of the white man, right, which is another large percentage of voters, uh, there was an anticipation that he was going to get majority of the white man vote, which was expected. Um, but I think the notion was that she was going to get a lot more support from this 37%. That's not a conversation that has been talked about. So, but that's going back to really looking at the numbers, right? It's really breaking things down on who's actually voting for who when, this whole concept of the woman's pushing women empowerment and all those things, and that being something that uh, was kind of widespread, and there was kind of an expectation amongst women, right? That there was an expectation amongst women uh, that has not really manifested itself. So as we look at this, uh-oh, as we look at this number of white women that was supposed to be a lot more. Now, if this number was maybe flipped to maybe 53 to 45, she got the 53, he got the 45, we may be looking at a different outcome. I think she might have needed maybe 55% of that, uh, that which would be spread out throughout the other states. Uh, you'll probably be hearing a different outcome. This number right here is very significant. She couldn't convince white women that she would, to have her back in this election, and that's a huge portion of this that's not really being talked about. Um, they didn't believe. Maybe they are a part of that. Uh, a large portion of them are a part of the Christian community that didn't want a lot of these different things when it comes to the moral compass that they are trying to uphold when it comes to the trans and thing. They couldn't get past those things in abortion, right? Those things were a couple of things I believe that were on the table. So maybe, I'm not sure, but it's definitely a conversation that has to be had, because these are the numbers. This number here, you can't deny that. That number there shows that white women wasn't really rocking with Kamala. I mean, she couldn't even get 50%. I think there was an expectation that she'd get maybe 60, maybe 60%, the same way that white men voted for Trump, because she was a woman and, she was doing things progressively, and thought that that would be kind of her way in, man. But I think that that's where the ball was majorly dropped. But then also, I know this is a conversation that ain't gonna go away. Now, there was 21% of black men that did vote for Trump. I think they thought the number was going to be way worse than that, based off of the impact and, the social media and the press and stuff, making it into a big deal, thinking that, majority of black men was not going to vote for her. But I don't think this number made a huge difference, because, again, of the voting population, black men only make up 5% of the voting population. So when we start slicing this thing up, it shows what the picture really looks like, right? So we're only 5% of the population. 77% voted for it. 21% did not. Now y'all can go ahead and go crazy, go wild, and have that conversation about the large percentage of that 21%. But also, you can have the same conversation with black women, because 91% did, but there is a 7% that didn't. But again, that's 5% and 7% spread throughout the different um, states. I don't think that would have made that much of a difference because you're not going to get 100% right. You're not gonna you're not gonna get 100% at all, right? But those numbers are showing that now. One of the other interesting parts is the Latino men and Latino women, right? That was this is going to be a very interesting conversation because uh 43% of Latino men voted for Kamala, but 55% voted for Trump. 55% voted for Trump, even with all of the controversial issues that we um, see that surrounding the whole issue of, you know, that building a wall and all this type of stuff. Obviously, they saw something that their community saw that was different. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. That's going to be a very interesting piece to see because as we look at the difference between the two, as we look at the difference between the two, the Latino men voted for Trump. The Latino women, 60% voted for Kamala. 38% though did vote for Trump. Again, these two demographics are only 6% of the actual voting population. Now, does it make a difference? Each one of these percentages makes a huge difference, right? But it's interesting to see as we break this thing down, right? We're breaking it down to see exactly what happened with this, right? What happened with this election, um, whether you're on one side or the other side. You know, that's what it's all about. That's what this conversation is about right now. We're just breaking it down. Now, Xavier, what's going on, girl? She said, "Are you going to take care of these children, or do women live off their belief and just struggle?" Mm. Break that down a little bit more for me. Now, if you want to, the link is the in the chat. The link is in the chat if you want to join in and kind of explain that and jump on with me. The link is in the chat if you want to come on and kind of have a conversation about that. That's definitely available for you. So, yeah, if you want to come on, we can talk about exactly what you're talking about. If you see the link, let me know. But if you want to write it in the chat, I can break it down and say that on here as well. Hey, okay, she said nice breakdown. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. But yeah, definitely we're gonna continue to go ahead and continue to break this thing on down. But if you want to come on again, we can talk about it and we can kind of go forward. Now, going back to what this looks like, right? If we continue just to look at these numbers, we're seeing the reality of what it is. There's no there's no getting past this, right? The numbers are the numbers. It is what it is. And there's no the proof is in the pudding. There's no getting past it. For those that will say that they felt one way about someone or they felt one way about another group or this or this or that, man, listen, that's all false. We're talking about false information, saying one way or another. And I'm gonna reiterate again. We're looking at this is the percentage of people on this side, right? This is the whole percentage of people by sex and race. So this is the whole voting pool, right? 34% white men, 37% white women, 5% is black men, 7% is black women, 6% is Latino men, another 6% is Latino women, and another 6% is just all of the other races, right? So that's the numbers. That's the breakdown of the entire voting pool. And I'm emphasizing this number here. I know a lot of people they're gonna have talk about this number here for black men of 21%. but that's only a 5%, right? Like it's not making a big dent, but it was still 77% that did. And we'll talk about this. What 28% of black folks, right? So this is 20. This is 21% here, and then 7% here, right? So you have your 7% of this 91% of black women that did. Listen, the big thing that is taking place is that I believe, and this was a conversation I've had with a few people, that this 37%, I believe they thought that they were going to get at least 60%. I think they believe Kamala would have gotten at least 60% of white women support. Uh, Donald Trump probably would have got 40%. I think that's what they're anticipating, kind of counteracting the white men. But as you can see, they kind of voted on par, particularly uh, most likely with their husband or family members and things like that, right? Their disparity isn't large. There's not a large difference between uh, their voting pool here, right? It's not a big disparity. There's a big disparity here. It's a nice little size disparity here, but here uh, they're kind of voting pretty similar, especially with them being such a large demographics, right? Such a large demographics that's there. So, man, when folks talk about the election, how they play out, who's voting for who, and I don't understand how this happened. Well, it's really simple. Uh, People are silent about who they're voting for or how they're voting, right? And we don't expect them to spill all the tea. We don't. We don't. We don't expect them to spill all the tea about everything, right? We don't expect them to spill all the tea about everything, but we're going to continue to break these numbers down because there's some other key indicators in this conversation that we're going to continue to have. I'm not. I am not surprised at all. Because I was telling y'all, I was having this conversation very easily, having this conversation, and it is not one of the easiest conversations in the world. Just understanding how people move, and you kind of seeing how the marketing and stuff is playing out. It's like, hmm, interesting, interesting. Now they have some of the breakdowns here that I'll bring back up. That was breaking it down um, in groups, in age groups and things like that. So I'll let you guys check those out. Um, the age groups, majority of that population was kind of broken up. The largest population of voters was 45 to 64. That was the largest percentage, right? The next largest percentage was 65 and over. Um, so that 18 to 29 year olds only took up 14%. So that was huge. That was huge. They're breaking them down by gender and age. We're gonna try to skip over some of those. Um, they start going into education and stuff. I don't want to go into those, but I did want to highlight where it is it at the education, if you been in school and stuff like that. So um, then they ask questions like, no matter how you voted today, what do you usually think of yourself? So they kind of position some of those questions, and of course income wise, it was kind of split. The total family income of how folks voted, it was pretty close. It was no huge disparity. It wasn't like the uh, people that was rich was voting for him, because if we're looking at this, right, we're usually talking about the middle class. 12% of those voters, again, those numbers are typically those that a lot of folks don't participate in the election. So we have to, again, empower people to actually participate, especially those that are making under 30,000. So that only makes up 12%. Another 16% here with 30 to 50,000, and of course the 50 to 100,000 you're at 32%. That's where the larger percentages are at. Between 50 and $200,000, you have 32%, 28%. But as you look at these numbers, they're kind of, no matter where they fell on the spectrum, it was kind of split. You know, no matter if you were super, you know, if you were making under 30,000 and wasn't making as much, or if you was making over $200,000 up to a millionaire, um, it was kind of split. So that there was no huge disparity in those that was making money. People that was making money wasn't that huge, big of a difference. Not at all. But what we did want to highlight is the religious part, right? So I believe this played a huge factor back up to the uh, larger percentage breakdown for whites and Hispanics, uh, and probably even black men. So the religious part. So 42%. This makes up 42% of this demographics. Um, so 42% are consider themselves Protestants or Christian. 22% are Catholic. 2% are Jews. 10% are something else. They believe in God or something else of that sort. And then you have 24% that don't believe in religion at all. Um, and so you have these different groups that are here from a religious standpoint, and you see that 36% voted for Kamala and 63% voted for Trump. So of the Christian community, 36% voted for Kamala and 63% voted for Trump. Almost a similar demographics for the Catholic Church. 40% voted for Kamala and 58% voted for Trump. So of these two, so of this large percentage of the religious community, that which is 64%. So they're 42 and they're 22. So 64% of the church have got a larger 60% or more that voted for Trump. And of that group, I'm sure a lot of them were of that the white women demographics that we were breaking down, right? Of why they may have made some of these decisions with the moral part that interfere with the religious part, right? So as we look at the political spectrum, all we could kind of go off of, maybe this is how they were thinking. Were they thinking this way because of not only were you a woman or this person is a misogynist, right? They'll have these titles among both people. You know, you have, and I believe most people had issues with both, right? We had an issue with Trump, and then we had some issues with Kamala. They both had their share of issues that numerous of people had broke down of why they felt that those people, each individual was immoral or whatever the case may be. So as we break down these numbers and we look at where they're at, right? Why was this vote this way? Why you vote this way? No one's out here saying it, but there's not a real discussion about what truly happened, right? What truly happened and what truly is happening, because that number is important. It's not something to take lightly, right? It's not something to take lightly. It's not something to take lightly, right? So if we're looking at it, let's see. If we look at it from a much larger perspective, right? Um, the church community, right? Uh, they have they're split, right? So that, you know, you have and that this was some of the conversations having with some of the individuals as well. So you have this the religious community, which is the Protestant and Christian and Catholics, would make up 60% of this particular data that was taken. That 60 more than 60% of them voted for Trump, and most people are saying, "Man, that's crazy. That's immoral. He's immoral and all this other type of stuff." But then at the same time, those same people don't believe in abortion. They don't believe in the transgender stuff, and so that's the religious part of the community, and they would pop. You could be so caught up in that you could be so uh, much in tune with your religious belief that hey man, I may not like what this guy is saying, some of the stuff that he's doing, but I'm definitely not going to vote for her because she wants abortion. She's okay with abortion and she's okay. You know what I mean? So the propaganda that surrounded it was tied to it. So if we're breaking these numbers down, man, listen, if you're just tuning in, appreciate y'all tuning in. Thank you. Go ahead, hit the like button. Make sure that y'all share as well. Appreciate y'all. Uh, First Arthur said Democrats are out of touch with reality. They thought antagonizing the other side will end well. I had some conversations about that, man. That was pretty, pretty interesting. Prince, that's pretty interesting. I agree with you to a degree, because when people are slanging mud at each other, man, it always does. It don't always end well, right? It don't always end well when folks are throwing mud at each other and you going into that fight. Some people get kind of turned off by that, right? Some folks do, some folks don't. Some folks might. So you kind of want to be careful. You kind of want to be careful when you're going into politics and you see those type of things. But that's how we get to these type of conversations. What's up, brother Sean? What's up, the family? I see you, man. Good to see you, bro. Uh, Again, if you guys want to jump on, I do have the link in the comments as well. If you guys want to jump on, we can have this conversation. Um, if you guys want to jump on again, have the conversation. The link for you to join the conversation, you can definitely come on. But continue to post your comments in the chat. Post your comments in the chat, and I will make sure that I read those off as you guys are coming on. I appreciate y'all, man, rocking with me today. But again, said my volume's low. There we go. Bam. Is that better for you, Doc? Hopefully that's better for you, man. Get a little bit of extra volume in there for you. There we go. Hopefully that's a little bit better. Bam. But yeah, man, appreciate y'all joining in and jumping on. But of course, as we break down what happened with the elections, appreciate you, Alfonso, man. Good to see you, brother. Hope you and the wife doing well. Yes, sir. Appreciate y'all. So as we continue to break this down, man, again, we're seeing the difference between all of them from each demographics that came into the voting pool, right? And a lot of people try to make it seem like, oh man, it's too confusing to understand it, but it is not as complicated as it may seem. What's up, Unc? I see you. Unc said they underestimated him. I agree. I agree. That's why I was having those conversations as well, of like, hey man, he's you're coming in and you're not understanding that there's a difference that I think people are thinking that the country's kind of turning so much, and it's more propaganda turning than anything. And I think it's been showing over these last elections. One, the same thing that kind of happened with Hillary Clinton, which was I don't think white women are ready for a woman president. And I said that before. It has proven itself again, as we're looking at the church part here. But again, going back up, and I'm gonna come back to that. Going back up to the breakdown of the by section race, this 37% of white women voted, and 53% of those, that percentage, voted for Trump. So Kamala didn't even get a split or even a little bit more than that for her to be able to even compete. And in order for her to even have competed, she would have had to sway the white women voters, right? There was a lot of attention to the black men to sway this election, and they still came out 77%. 21% did, but 77% still did. But I think this convincing this, and also a little bit more of the Latino men, and 60% of Latino women did. So I think a little bit more of the Latino men and the white women. We knew that Trump was going to get a large amount of the white men. I think that was going to be a given. But this number of white women, I think, was what made a huge difference. That made so much of a difference. So much of a difference in this entire conversation. Like, we got Jabray in the background. Gonna be bringing you up here in a minute, brother. So again, if you guys want to jump on, man, just click on the link. We're gonna have this discussion and conversation about what's happening right here in these elections and what happened. What's up, brother? You on? Jabray, you there? I think you're on mute, bro. I think you still on mute, bro. There you go.
How you doing, Pat?
Doing good, man.
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing all right.
Man, I can't complain, man. I can't.
So what's your thoughts, man? What's your thoughts on what's going on with what happened with the election?
I think definitely. I've been having a couple conversations over the yesterday, some last night. How a lot of people expected us to show up. For me, what stands out about it, just first glance looking at the numbers, as soon as I seen those exit polls, was religion. You know, I feel like the Christians, they made a blatant statement like, we're not accepting that. You you know, everything else that was done, in the economic status, arguably race, Hispanics, whites, young, age, but that number, like, definitely next time, like, oh yeah, religion, they showed up. And if me personally, having a lot of intimate conversations with a lot of Christians, I'm a Christian, you know, having a lot of conversations with them, it kind of correlates with what they were already pretty much saying. It's just the number of them that showed up, you know. So that definitely stood out.
Right.
Yeah, they showed up. They made a statement. So, yeah, you know, as you mentioned in the beginning, I'm a first-time voter.
Let's go.
So it was a privilege.
Hello.
It was a privilege. A lot of time, what we say and we agree with. Not. Thank you, brother. Thank you, man. First time, hey, it was feeling so empowering, bro. It feels so empowering walking in there and walking out like, man, my voice counted. Whether a lot of time we say things and it's not heard or it's not agreed upon, that doesn't mean our voice don't matter.
Come on, man.
So that was my encouragement to a lot of family members. Like, hey, it's your voice. So, yeah, it was a. You know, it was a. I stayed up all night. I'm a political science kind of junkie on the low, Pat. So I literally, my wife's sitting there like, man, shut the screen down. I'm like, man,
Man,
You
I was the same way last night, man. She was like, hey,
Man, I went to go get
you ain't gonna
tacos.
turn that off. You ain't gonna turn that off. It's like 1 a.m. I was like, you ain't gonna turn that off. I was
Nah.
like, cause did you see they was waiting at Howard for her to come and do her
Yeah.
speech, but then they were saying that she was gonna
Yeah.
come and do it in the morning, and folks started
Yeah.
dispersing after that because it was like midnight when they told them that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I seen that turn, I think I was looking on TikTok. I seen someone, or I saw on Facebook, I seen someone share the picture. Oh, thank you, welcome Donald Trump. But yeah, bro, for me, I've always been like that. The last 2-3 elections that I've been kind of like following. So it was an honor. It was an honor to exercise my vote. And like I say, just analyzing these numbers, what the House, but we know it's not easy. We know it's not all. You mentioned in the beginning, Obama had when his first term had the House and Senate.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah, we'll see.
And
we'll see.
And to even add another note,
Uh-huh.
with Trump, remember, I mean, we seen it. A lot of Republicans win it, shifted away from him.
Yeah.
Now he back in the White House.
Right.
A lot of them are still in the Senate. A lot of them still in the House. A lot of them did lose votes, but now it's going to be like a civil war. You got to execute on the promises that y'all campaigned on. So,
well,
man,
that's gonna be the thing too, bro. Like when you really look at it, the difference between Trump ain't going for another reelection, right? So he gonna be able to do whatever he kind of want to do. He's not looking for a reelection, nor do he really care about the Republican Party. So his position isn't like the normal. Yeah, his position isn't the normal position for a politician. Like typically, as you go into your second term, you're trying to tee it up for the next person too. Like so, for whoever's coming after you. So he don't care who's coming after him.
Like he don't care.
He don't care. So he has no alliance to the Democratic to the Republican Party at all. And so whatever he's deciding to do is like literally what he wants to do. And whoever has to come after that, he gives zero cares about it.
Yeah, he don't care if it's a Democrat that get elected in or another Republican. He done did what he did. I can ride off in the sunset. You're right. I didn't even think about it.
we gonna see how
sometimes, like I said,
he's going
is not. It's we showed up though, and I think I commented on someone posted the other day. I mean today, and I seen it earlier. What you can't say is that the black vote didn't show up for the they showed up.
It definitely showed up. Now I did see though the comments of some folks that did see the number, which was 21% of black men did vote for Trump, and 7% of black women voted for Trump as well. And so, but I think no matter what that number was going to be, it was going to be a conversation. But I think they thought that a large number of black men was going to vote for Trump. But that wasn't the case. That definitely wasn't the case.
That did stand out. I did see that. I kind of was expecting because, being formerly incarcerated, a lot of men have brought that up. A lot of black men brought that topic up. Well, she locked the black man up.
She locked the
she locked us up. She was, that could go either way. I had perspective on both sides of that, but nevertheless, when I did see the number, I said,
it was still, it still was,
a lot of that 77%. A lot of just talk. When it came down to crunch time, you. And very interesting, man. I appreciate I ain't gonna hold up
for sure, man. I appreciate you coming on, bro.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you're hey, man. Anytime, bro. Doing great things. This is a very important, topic of discussion. for all of us, man. So my first time voting won't be my last. Still
Man,
encouraging my family. Still encouraging my family to go do the same thing, man.
that's
The
what's up,
game
bro.
changer.
Appreciate you, bro. My brother with changes,
All
man.
right,
Appreciate you, bro.
man. Thank you, brother. You have a good one. All right, and everyone out there, man, tune in. Still some great things that's going on that we can still be involved in and have a voice in. So, all right, bro.
That's right. Appreciate you, man. Come on, let's give it up for Jabray one more time. First time voter, man. First time voter out here getting it in. That's so much love right there, man. Appreciate brothers like that that's coming on and doing their thing and doing great stuff, man. So it's phenomenal to see the changes in the conversation, right? And so again, as we look at these different things that's going on, go through some of these comments. Pastor Kevin Edwards, First Lady Sharon Edwards, appreciate y'all. Thank you, love y'all, man. And then Alfonso said he did also win the popular vote, which has always been the conversation, right? That goes back to the Al Gore time when he lost to George Bush. He had the popular vote, but then lost the electoral college vote, right? So, but in this instance, right, he won he won the popular vote and the electoral college vote the same way that Obama did. So he there's no argument that could be had about him winning this election. It was like, it's not like, oh, Kamala won the popular vote and Trump got the electoral college vote, so it's rigged. You know what I mean? So, and that's a whole nother conversation with the electoral college portion of this thing, man, and why it's not based on the popular vote. That's a whole nother conversation for us to have because it's just too much. It's too much in one setting. All right, my boy Shy said Trump is turned all the way up, but the economic and social plans sound good. Now this is our brother. This is one of our brothers here. He said, plus Kamala just never passed my smell test. She comes off as for sale to me. Not to mention hearsay of her past from trustworthiness family in the Bay Area. Okay. Big up RKJ praying for Trump and our country. All right. That's what's up, man. I think that has been some of the people's sentiments as well. Of course, I think Jabray had touched on that as well as we was having this conversation about just some of the things that may have come off or rubbed the wrong way. Some of the expectations that was there. So it is very interesting. And I think a lot of people, because Trump is a businessman, his economic plans and the things that he had before, or people have perceived that he had before, was a little bit better, But again, I'm gonna go back to that demographics, man. We're gonna go back to that demographic. We're gonna pull it back up. We're gonna go back to that demographics here. We're gonna pull that back up here. Again, that number was based off of the white women. We could put a little bit on the Latino man and the black man, but the white women was, I think, more of the expectations in this election. I think they were expecting the women's movement to be pushed a little bit further by the white women. And I would say even the Latino women, even though it's 60%, I think they would have expected that number to be a lot more, especially from the Latino community. I think there was an expectation with the wall and all that type of stuff that I think they may have now perceived as propaganda, right? That's propaganda. So that is something to really look at, man. That's something to really look at. And again, if y'all want to jump on, man, go ahead and jump on. We'll have this conversation here in just a little bit. But I'm going to go back to some of the other statistics, and I'm going to put the stream back in the chat again as we begin a lot of comments here. We're gonna allow you guys to come on and jump on and just tell us how you feeling, what you feel about it, how you feel about it. Go ahead and put it in the chat. What's your thoughts on the election? How you think it played out? What was your position with Trump or Kamala? Do you think Kamala was robbed? Do you not think that she got their support? Do you think Trump is going to be a good president for the next 4 years? What is your thoughts on this conversation? Of course, it is something that's going to shape our next 4 to 6 years, right? Anytime a president is in office, just like how Biden is getting out, you're going to have about a year and a half of kind of lingover of what was implemented from him, and then that kind of the things that is being approved or executive orders and things that are being passed by our Congress will kind of take shape in the next 2 to 3 years. So we'll see and feel the effects of that. Some things we'll be able to get immediately. We don't know if it's going to be some tax cuts, things like that. We don't know. Some incentive for businesses, things like that. We don't know. I think there has been some expectations. I think that was something that our brother Sean had brought up, which is some of the economic plans that are there. But of course, one of the things of the conversation has been, is Trump really a part of that Project 2025 document that has been submitted that will mess up a lot of stuff like Medicaid and 401ks and retirements. We are definitely going to see with a lot of the social programs and things like that what that's going to do and what that's going to look like in the future for us. Let's see here. The father said many Latinos who work very hard for citizenship were very angry about illegal aliens just crossing the border. Oh, wow. Okay. That's a very interesting perspective as well. Yeah. Okay. So see, of course, again, these things are coming up about why people have particular positions, right? So if we're looking back at these numbers, right? We're looking back at these numbers. If we're taking our brother Alfonso's comment here, we're looking at this number that we just talked about Latino men and Latino women, the 6% that voted. 43% of Latino men voted for Kamala and 55% for Trump. Now, Alfonso saying that the 55% that voted for Trump, they were upset at the open borders that Biden and Kamala had in place because they're working hard, right? And so they had a position on why they, something needs to happen to that as well. I think that there's a misconception there, right? That because folks are Latino, Hispanic, Latino, Latinx, that there's a position that they're against the wall or they're against creating some type of border of some kind for, and I think that media, if we're taking what, Alfonso is very versed in a lot of the political arena as well, even with his business and stuff from the federal side. So taking folks that work hard and you're putting them all in a bundle, right? I can see how that could potentially be disheartening, upsetting, because now you have this image of saying like, hey, you want to do things the right way. You want people to do things the right way. And we had this conversation before, even at BC. I was asked this question, man. And it just brings back up that conversation that I had at BC with a large group of students there. And we were talking about politics and just voting and stuff. And it was BC has a large group of Hispanic students that's there as well. And in this particular class, it was probably about maybe 50 students there, and probably about out of the 50, maybe about almost 30 were Hispanic. And then there was a few white kids and a few black kids, and I think an Asian kid in there. And so they asked me the question. I think this was like maybe a few years ago when they asked me this question, and it was, what was my thoughts on, the whole process of them, sending people back, their families and stuff being split up and things like that. in the border. They was asking me questions about that, and I was like, man, I asked him, I was like, I said, man, you guys really don't know me, but you guys are gonna get to know me because I'm just a realist. I was like, do y'all want my real answer, or do you just not want me to answer it at all? It's like, yeah, we want your real answer. You've been cool, and so I was like, well, I said, I think it's just a political game, and this is what I told the kids: it's a political game. I said, because in reality, we're a country, right? And so anything illegal that somebody does is illegal. I said it goes back even when I brought in the black community. I was like, we had the crack epidemic, right? I was like, even people that were selling drugs and stuff, and they couldn't get jobs, but what they were doing was still illegal. And it was by them selling those drugs, although that may have been their only alternative, it was still illegal and it was breaking up families, right? But they were doing something illegal. And I said, this is the same thing. I said, although the people are good and they don't have any ill will intentions, that's still an illegal act of, there's a process to become a legal citizen. I said, so on both sides, nobody's really trying to because there is no solution. Like, nobody's trying to create a solution because there really isn't a solution. And I said, if we did this, I said, if we stopped for a moment and we said, okay, today, I said, our class, we're the legislative body, and we're going to make a decision that all illegal aliens and everybody that's here today are American citizens. Okay? Everybody said, okay. They're like, okay. And I said, okay, so now what happens tomorrow? So when somebody come over here tomorrow, what happens? They're here now illegal. So what happens to them now? Do we kick them out? Or we said it's going to be open border? I said, we can't go to any country like that. No country is built that way. I just can't show up to, can't just show up in Russia and just try to say that I'm a citizen. And I said that conversation became, and so they were like, oh yeah, I understand what you're saying. I said, so everybody's just playing a political game, and they're trying to get, smooth the votes and caters to people's feelings at the moment, but there's no real solution to it unless we're talking about, Alfonso was talking about, just open borders. And so I'm seeing that being part of this discussion when it comes to who voted for who. And so the Latino community, which was Alfonso was saying, that they're upset. They don't really want the illegal aliens crossing the border in this way when people have worked hard for their citizenship. So I'm open to all of these discussions and conversations. You know what I mean? He also said this is why the Latino was so powerful during this election. Very true. We seen that happen, right? As we're going back to these numbers, and we're seeing these numbers, not really taken in consideration. Are they speaking for the American Latinos that are here now? You know what I mean? Where are those discussions at? What was there some type of real dialogue and conversation? Because that, as different groups and understanding different backgrounds and cultures, that portion is very important of having those discussions. What are the concerns? What are your positions on these things, instead of just trying to force things on folks, right? Just trying to force it. Is it an issue? And I believe even Trump harped on that being something that the Latino community wanted. But again, the proof is in the votes, right? The proof is in the votes at the end of the day. Like, we're looking at the numbers of the votes, and the votes is saying that folks try to make it seem like the Latino community hated Trump, but obviously not, right? So they saw or was a part of a conversation that was a lot different than what mainstream media was showing in general, right? It had to be something, because the proof is in the pudding. Like why, if we're saying that there's a hatred there, then why would 55% of the Latino men vote for it? if they were so disgusted with him wanting to build a wall and him um, making sure that illegals were going back to um, their country and then trying to get here in a legal way. If there was a major disgust there, right? Why was the number so skewed of 55% voted for him and 38% of the women, Latino women, voted for him? That number will look more like how the black men and women, right? That number would be a lot lower. That number would be if there was a major, discussed there, right? So we're talking about even in places like Nevada and I mean, come on, in Arizona, like we're looking at these different up in Oregon. What is that looking like in California? Those numbers. So that, like you said, yeah, numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie. Numbers do not lie. The numbers are there. And so, again, if we look at these numbers, we have the Latino men and women. We got some explanation there. There was an issue with the open walls and maybe some of the characteristics that was there that they didn't like from what was coming out of the Democratic Party, and they were siding with the Republican Party on this. White women wasn't with the whole women's movement portion of this and was saying that wherever their value lied, it lied a little bit more with Trump. That's all the numbers are saying. Excuse me. But yeah, that's all we can go off of is the numbers. The numbers are showing us this is what it is. This is what it is. This is what it is. You can't say nothing different. So if you're going to have this conversation, you're going to have these conversations with your group of friends. Pull up the numbers. Pull up the numbers. I'm going to post that in the chat as well. Y'all can go ahead and check out some of those numbers there. Or you can check them out. Boom. That's going to be important for y'all to check those numbers out. You can go and check out the numbers yourself. It is going to be updating here soon with a few more of the demographics there. So check out those numbers that are being shown for the exit poll. So you'll be able to check out all the different percentages there and all the breakdown. And I'll scroll down just a little bit. We see the different ages by gender, the whole nine, right? So we see by age group, right? Boom. Definitely split. But then one of the major things that I think was interesting, I think Jabari, I had kind of touched on that a little bit, and I had touched on it a little bit earlier, which was the church. Okay, let's do this. Before we go there, now, we're going to look at should most undocumented immigrants in the U.S. be deported to other countries they came from, offered a chance to apply for legal status? Democrats, 75%. Deported, 87% by Republicans. So even if we're looking at that percentage, right? So if we're focusing in on the Latinx community, they would rather them be deported. That's what the numbers are saying. They're here illegally. They're undocumented. They should be deported. There's the women, the 60% of Hispanic women though would rather for them to get offered a chance to be able to get some type of legal status. So that's something just to watch, man. It's just something to watch. But man, as you break down these things, you're talking about abortion, you know, and those things. You know, that the position on abortion, of course, Democrats are 80% legal in all cases, right? So it says, which comes closest to your position? Abortion should be. These are the options: legal, excuse me, in all cases, legal in most cases, illegal in most cases, or illegal in all cases. So this is the position. So majority of Democrats believe it's legal in all cases, and majority of Republican, not surprising, by both sides, is illegal in all cases, right? So if they believe that it's illegal in all cases, again, it goes back to that breakdown, their belief system. Okay, you know what are they positioned? What is the position of the Democrats? What is the position of the Republicans? And then those families, those individuals, are making some of their moral decisions based off of just maybe the baseline of what the party is standing on and what policies they want to be behind. And so if they're not believing in abortion and you're pushing that abortion is legal in all cases, then these folks in that demographics ain't, they're most likely not going to vote for you. It's just that simple. The numbers are the numbers, people. You can't change the numbers. So when you start breaking these things down to, okay, we're saying the abortion part here, boom, it's showing you 87% believe that is legal in all cases. 88% is saying, of the Republican is saying it's illegal in all cases. So there's a major split between the two in this case. Then we went on some of the immigration stuff, right? There's a split between that. So if you're on one side or the other side, there's maybe a misconception that the Latinx community believed in something. There's also a misconception that the white woman believed in something, right? There was kind of a position already for the white men and black folks. They're kind of in a position that there's a large percentage that's there, but then those question marks between the Hispanic community and the white woman, where were the things that they would want to stand behind, and they showed in their vote what they want to stand behind, and it's showing their positions even here. Majority of those that don't want to deal with those things. Okay. So let's continue to break these things down. Let me go back to, where is it at? That's not what I'm looking for. Where is it at? I think I passed it. Go back to it here. Ba-dum-bum, ba-dum-bum. It's talking about the being fair. Let's see, where is it at? All right, here we go. So which one of these five issues mattered most in deciding how you voted for the president? Now, foreign policy, uh, there was a large percentage of that. The abortion issue, right? So, so two things was super major for the Republican Party, and there was two things major for the Democratic Party, right? So we're gonna break these things down really quick. These things, right? So we say which one of these five issues mattered most in deciding how you voted for president. So we have foreign policy, abortion, the economy, immigration, the state of democracy. Now, for foreign policy, it's only 4%. It's only 4%. Abortion, larger percentage, 14%. The economy, 32%. Major position, right? Immigration was 11%, and the state of democracy was 34%. So the top two was the economy and the state of democracy, right? So let's look at these two. Let's look at these two. Okay? Let's look at these two. Now, the economy, the majority of the people that was concerned about the economy was the Republican Party. Was that 32%? 34%, these large numbers, right? Of the voters was worried about the state of democracy, which came from the Democratic Party, right? Now, we have the two other lower percentages, which was 14% and 11%, which was one which was abortion and the other was immigration. Now, the group that was super concerned about abortion was the Democratic Party at 74%. The group that was majorly concerned about immigration was the Republican Party. So it's very interesting now as we break down these statistics. Foreign policy kind of split, not as much of a percentage, right? We ain't gonna worry about that. Now, the two top important things for each party. The top one was abortion and the state of democracy for the Democratic Party. That was their top two. Their voters was most concerned about abortion and the state of democracy. That was their two large percentage. Now, the Republican Party, the people that voted for Trump, their two main concerns was the economy and immigration. The economy and immigration, those were their two major concerns. These two concerns was the major piece of their vote. So now, when we break this down, right, we're talking about money and stuff like that. We're talking about how folks' well-being and how they're going to go forward. Now, we talked about the major players in swinging this election, which was white women and the Latino community, right? White men had their position, black folks had their position. We could have a little question mark for black men, but their percentage wasn't large enough to sway. But white men and the black folks kind of had their position. The question marks were white women and the Latino community. So, but the concerns was the economy. And so who did they trust that could put the economy in a better place, right? That large percentage of white women and Latino believe that Trump could. So if we're looking at this number, if we're looking at this number, right, that means the Hispanic women, Hispanic men, and white women believe that Trump could do a better job in making sure that the economy was in a better place. Also, they also believe, which was a top concern for white women and the Latino men and Latino women, going back to what Alfonso said, that they believed, again, this is 90% believing that immigration was a top issue for them. So They didn't believe. Again, we're breaking this thing down into the ideology part of how people are thinking, right? What the voters are thinking, what's going on in their minds when they're going to the polls. You got to break these things down for people to understand. If you're going to under, you have to understand your constituents, what they're concerned about, what's concerning them, and how those things are gonna, foster for them. You can't force it on them. What are their true concerns? Because then they're gonna show up at the polls and show you what their true concerns is. You can't fake the fun, okay? So their concerns lie right here, and their votes show that. Their votes show that. Their votes show what they actually believed in. What they actually believed in. So it's very important. Hey, mama. Good to see you. I'm glad you're up. We're just breaking this down. Again, make sure y'all like and share. Like and share. As we break this thing on down and what's going on. But this piece right here. Woo! That was important. This right here was important. Understanding the issues that were at hand and how they would be handled by who. So if I'm putting the responsibilities in somebody's hands, right? If I put that responsibility in somebody's hands, it's up to me. It's up to me to make that decision on how it's going to affect my family, right? So in moving forward, and so we're either one saying that these voters aren't informed, and they're or what we trying to say. What we trying to say? We have to be catering to what voters and their families, what's concerning them, and are we addressing it? And so I think that's super important. Super important. But like I said before, it's very important that we look at these numbers. Now, I'm gonna go into the religious part. Now we're gonna bring this back up. Really quick. I'm get on up out of here. Here we go. The religious part. The religion. The church. We got the church here. So, you got the Christian, you got the Catholic. They combine for 64%. Right? Excuse me. There was something that was coming. But the Christian and the Catholic combine for 64% of this. Now, over 60% voted for Trump. Again, going back to those values, I think on abortion was a huge thing. Their position on that was a huge thing. The position on the trans stuff was a huge thing that was brought up. And so I think that those positions created this, what we have right now. So the church wasn't feeling that. Then they also broke it down. They also broke it down among white voters, which they knew was going to be a huge percentage, right? So 72% that was Christian and 61% that was Catholic, they voted for Trump. White born again or evangelical Christian, 82%. So we when we look at these Let me go back to this one. This 64%, it goes back to the moral compass and values. So I'm just gonna leave out with this, man. Just gonna leave out with this. You break it down by education and all that other type of stuff. That's cool. But when you looked at the top issues that people were concerned about, and we see it broken down by sex and race. Again, I believe we knew that this percentage, the 34%, let me really explain how this is. So that if you don't understand, these numbers here, let me go back to it. These numbers here, let me go back to it. Let's see. Here we go. A little bit bigger. Okay. Hopefully, I can see those a little bit better as we break down these numbers. Okay. So you can see here this 34%. So these add up to about 100, right? Sometimes be 101, just because the number be like 4.9, they'll round it up to 5, stuff like that. So these numbers add up to 100. So this is the percentage of total voters. This is 100% of the voters broke down by sex and race. So 34% of all voters are white men. 37% of all voters are white women. 5% of all voters are black men. Another 7% is black women. 6% are Latino men. 6% is Latino women. And the other 6% are all the other races combined. They didn't continue to break them down. Okay? So this is the whole 100% of all of the voters by sex and race broken down. So these white men, 60% of them voted for Trump. I think that was a major expectation. There was a belief that that was going to be what it was. I believe that black women, that was the number that they would believe. There was a question mark with black men, which 77% came in as black men voted for that, and 21% voted for Trump, right? The major discrepancy here, which is the Latino men and women, which is 60% voted for Kamala, 38% voted for Trump. I believe they believe that more Latino women would vote for Kamala. But again, going back to those moral values and things of that sort, they didn't agree. They wasn't won over. The same thing for Latino men, with all these things talking about the borders and him locking up all these people and kicking them out and all this other type of stuff. They thought that that was a deterrent for the Latino community not to vote for him, because 55% of Latino men voted for him. Only 43% did for Kamala. So they wasn't able to win him over on the concern issues that they had, which Alfonso stated, which was not doing nothing about the borders. The Latino community has an issue with that, but they don't have a platform to really express it because you have other people speaking for them. I don't know. But the votes is showing that they have a more of a belief in Trump than they did in Kamala. That's what the numbers are saying. And then I think the big kicker here was the white women. The white women at 37% here, 45% only voted for Kamala. I believe they believed that this women empowerment movement piece was going to push them over the hump, and that did not happen because 53% of them voted for Trump. And this 37% has a lot more weight.
You have to be able to win over. If you're the Democratic Party, you have to win over that white women vote, and they failed to be able to do that. At the same time, they lost um, a lot of the support from the Hispanic community as well. And so these are lessons in politics, man. These are lessons in politics that you always try to make sure that you understand your constituents, understand the folks that you're dealing with, understand the people that you're you're needing to cater to in order to win. And I think this is going to be a very interesting thing as the week goes on. You know, are people going to really have these real conversations, right? Um, are these going to be real conversations that folks going to have? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if they're going to have these real conversations. It's going to be very, very interesting as we have the numbers here. The numbers are shown. The numbers are showing what it is and what it means and what it's about. But is it going to be the reality of how the response is going to be? Because nobody's really breaking down these numbers and talking about them in this way. These numbers is what happened. This is the story. Now, as we break these numbers down, are we going to be real about them? Or are we not? You tell me. I don't know. But I've had fun with y'all today. It's always fun talking to y'all. It's always fun having these type of conversations because it's not always easy. You know, it's not always easy to have these type of conversations when it comes to, you know, numbers and stuff can be boring. I know some people were excited, some folks are disappointed, some folks were happy. But it's all within the political realm and the political arena of what is going to take place. But I did want to cover some of the propositions and stuff. It has gotten late. I've been on here for a minute trying to break down these numbers, having these conversations with y'all, but I enjoy doing it and definitely would try to make sure I have some extra time to come back on and talk about the propositions because, yeah, it's going to be real interesting how these things are played out and probably even talk about some of the local politicians and stuff as well. I did plan on trying to tie that in today, but I just did not have the time, you know, I just did not have the time to be able to get it to it. Oh, my mama said some people was upset at work. You know, when I went to the gym, different places, you know, people was checking out, trying to see how different people was reacting. I think even people was trying to check to see how I was reacting too. Like, you know, I understand politics, so it just comes with the game. Like it's part of winning and losing and learning. You know, really learning. I feel some type of way. I felt some type of way about a few things, to be honest, especially with some of the propositions. But I'm not surprised because there was with having conversation with multiple people who just I was like, man, white women are just too quiet, and then I could, you know, I want those folks to come on as well that I had these conversations with, so that they can verify these are some of the things that I was saying. Like I was like, you know, white women is just too quiet. It don't seem like they're feeling Kamala at all. Like, you know, not to the degree that folks are trying to say that they ain't, you know, people saying stuff, but they ain't really diving in the way they supposed to be diving in. And I was like, I don't think they're bought in the way they're trying to portray it. And then it was too much of a conversation on black men supporting her and all this type of stuff. But, you know, I think there was a little bit too much of a focus there. And I think that was a propaganda thing too. I think people was trying to create that into something, and then maybe that her not focusing on some of the other issues that were at hand could have distracted her as well. But again, I don't even think that could have done anything because when we broke down the numbers of the issues, right, it was majorly towards immigration and economics, and immigration and economics was their top concern for them to handle, and then they were totally against the open borders, totally against abortion. So, to be tied into those things, the thing that the optics wasn't important. It was the political agenda that they felt, that folks felt was part of this conversation. So it's man. I would come back. I know there's gonna be more stuff that's gonna be coming up. I know there's gonna be some conversation that for some of the winners, losers, and things like that. So I'll definitely be coming back on to have this discussion, and definitely appreciate all of you for tuning in. Appreciate all the support. Make sure y'all like, share, and continue to subscribe to the different channels that we have. And so until next time, I appreciate each and every one of you. Make sure that y'all be blessed on top. Make sure that you have love in your heart and that you love one each other on purpose. Peace out. I'm gone.